Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a really powerful theme that's popping up all across India's landscape. It's this renewed sense of identity and sovereignty. And you'll see it's playing out everywhere, from military drills high in the mountains to some pretty high-stakes international tax deals. Okay, let's get right into it. Here's what we've got on the docket for today. We'll start with joint military exercises, then we'll break down a major update to a tax treaty, look at some symbolic shifts in national identity, and finally, take a peek at future challenges in tech and the environment. First up, we're heading to the front lines. We're going to look at two really crucial joint military exercises that are, you could say, the ultimate test for India's defense collaborations with the United States and Japan. So what's so interesting here is how this table just lays it all out, side by side. On one hand, you've got Vajra Prahar with the U.S. up in Himachal Pradesh, and that's all about making sure their special ops forces can work together like a well-oiled machine. Then, on the other hand, there's Dharma Guardian with Japan and Uttarakhand, which is more focused on building that deep operational trust. So you have two key partners, two different mountain locations, but really one big goal, making sure India's alliances are strong and ready for anything. Right, and let's be clear, these exercises are not just for show. They're not just photo ops. When you have elite units from the US and Japan training like this, you're building the very foundation of India's defense ties. It's all about ensuring different forces can work together seamlessly when it really, really counts. It's kind of like building muscle memory for modern warfare. Okay, so from strategic readiness on the borders, we're going to switch gears completely and talk about economic readiness in the global market. We're moving from military tactics to financial treaties, and we're zoning in on a major update to the agreement between India and France. First things first, we've got to get our heads around this basic concept. A double taxation avoidance convention, or a DTAC, well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's a deal between two countries that stops them both from taxing the exact same income. It just makes doing business and investing across borders way, way smoother. Now this is the game changer. For years, there was this thing called the Most Favored Nation Clause. Think of it like this. If India gave, say, Germany a really good tax rate on something, this clause meant France automatically got that same sweet deal. Well, by removing this clause, that automatic privilege is totally gone. And you can see the ripple effect right here. Getting rid of that MFN clause means India is back in the driver's seat of its own tax policy. It can negotiate its treaties one by one, based on what works best for India. This seriously strengthens its economic independence and stops it from having to give away tax revenue automatically. And there's another layer to this. The updated treaty now includes global standards to fight something called base erosion and profit shifting, or BEPS. In simple terms, this is a set of rules to stop huge multinational companies from shifting their profits to countries with super low taxes just to avoid paying their fair share. It's a really important move to make sure everybody's playing by the same rulebook. You know, that idea of taking back control that we just saw in tax policy, well, it's also taking on a cultural shape. We're shifting from international deals to national identity. We'll look at two pretty different stories, a symbolic change right in the heart of the government and a whole new way of thinking about tourism in Rajasthan. This slide just captures such a powerful moment. Over at Rashtrapati Bhavan, the statue of Edwin Lutyens, the British architect behind colonial New Delhi, is being replaced. And who's taking his place? C. Rajagopalachari, India's one and only Indian Governor General. I mean, it's a very clear, very deliberate statement about shedding colonial symbols to celebrate national heroes instead. And at the same time, you've got this really amazing grassroots reshaping of tourism happening in Rajasthan. Instead of just focusing on giant hotels, this new homestay scheme is all about empowering local families. It's about creating jobs, building sustainable places to stay, and giving tourists a real, authentic taste of Rajasthani culture. It's a total win-win. All right, for our last section, let's look to the future. We're turning to two really forward-thinking initiatives that are tackling some of the biggest challenges of our time. One is about the ethics of our technology, and the other is about environmental survival in the Himalayas. So as new tech like AI just explodes and reshapes our world, we kind of need a moral compass, right? Well, that's exactly what the WAVES principles are. Wisdom, accountability, verification, ethics, and safety. You can think of it as a checklist to make sure that as we build all this cool new stuff, we're doing it responsibly and keeping people safe.
Now this number, it might just look like more than 24 on your screen, but it's actually a huge deal. It stands for over 24 real, tangible, climate-resilient innovations and technologies that were put on display at the Him Connect 2026 event, a super important gathering focused on the future of the Himalayas.
And we're not talking about abstract theories here. This event, Him Connect, was all about showcasing practical solutions. Things like sustainable building materials, new forms of renewable energy, and better ways to ensure water security. These are real, tangible efforts to protect one of the most vital and vulnerable ecosystems on the entire planet. And so that leaves us with one final thought. We've seen India strengthening its military partnerships, taking control of its economy, reclaiming its cultural story, and innovating for a safer future. When you connect all those dots, the big question isn't just which change is the most important, it's how this combined push for a new Indian identity will actually shape its journey on the world stage.